What is up, guys? Welcome back. Another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. In this video tonight, we have a special one for you guys. We're going to be live drafting a best ball championship here on drafters.com. Let me show you guys what we're going to be looking at here. This is a $20 entry contest. First place is going to be $250K. So far right now, they're just at about 20,000 entrants of 55,000. So they keep filling up 12 team lobbies until they get there. And basically, it's a competition. It's your full PPR draft. You start one QB, two running backs, three wide receivers, one tight end, and one flex. Weeks 1 through 17, there's no playoffs. Essentially, may the best man win, so you don't have to worry too much about week 17 correlation and things like that. So we're doing this one. It should be a lot of fun. The draft's just about to start in about 15 seconds. It looks like we have the 6th overall pick. We're going to go 20 rounds deep here, and let's have some fun. I think I like being in the middle of the draft. Basically, we're kind of guaranteed Jamar Chase or Austin Eckler in this one, and I feel pretty good about both those guys, especially in a best ball format. You want Jamar Chase. We know Austin Eckler is a huge best baller with his touchdowns, so we'll see how this one goes. You get about 30 seconds to make your pick, so let's hang tight. Enjoy your Tuesday evening here as we're going for the 250K with this one. And Christian McCaffrey, first one off the board. Now, what you see in the parentheses is that's how many entrants these people have into this contest. So this guy, he's the lobby leader here with 128 entries into this. Fresh picks here at 112. So this is just my third one here. So I want to start to get a couple more of these guys into this contest. I was filling up their smaller one, but that one closed today. So now we're focusing on the big 250K prize. And it's a lot of fun. Jonathan Taylor, second off the board here. And for the most part here, like we're guaranteed almost Jamar Chase or Austin Eckler. It's going to be a rare instance if JJ or Cooper Kupp falls to us. But we're probably going to be going back and forth with my projection document. I do have PPR formatted here. Let me just hit my flex rankings here so we can see everybody. And then I have Eckler as the 5th overall player, Jamar Chase as my number 6 here. I might actually pivot towards Austin Eckler here because I kind of like getting that running back early here. But we'll see what this Justin does here with his number 5 spot. Eckler or Chase would be the pick here. And we get Austin Eckler, so no contest here. I think there's a clear drop-off. You can see the ADP reflects that too. Like there's no number 7 just because everybody's kind of backed up here. So we'll collect Austin Eckler. I feel really strongly about him being a top 5 running back this year. And we get a piece of that Chargers offense. So I feel pretty good about collecting Eckler at the 6th spot. And I understand like he's due for some regression with those touchdowns. If I open up the numbers from last year, let's take a peek at that. The dude was just a touchdown machine last year, ended up with 12 rushing touchdowns and 8 receiving touchdowns, tying Jonathan Taylor for the lead. So I don't know if he's probably not a 1,000-yard rusher, but man, if he's able to hit that 70 receptions and flirt with 1,000 yards rushing, we're looking at a really nice season. Not even, mattering for the touchdowns. Cause look at, 345 points. The next drop off is 300. I mean, we can knock off, like 6 touchdowns from that total, and that's still going to put him as the RB2. So I think there's room for Eckler to still hit for you in the first round here. So there goes Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, AJ Brown in the first round. Oh my goodness. So this one's someone to monitor here. Fresh picks from the 9 spot here. What's he doing with AJ Brown in the first round? Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, and then we got one more pick here to round out the first round. So we're having fun here. Round 2, we're probably looking at one of these running backs, whether it's Jones, Saquon Barkley. Alvin Kamara had something pop up on his on the news timeline today, something about who's representing the defendant in the case here. So I'm not too big to draft Alvin Kamara, and especially like in a competition this big. There's been people that have been drafting Kamara in the 3rd and 4th round, so I'm not going to try and beat that ADP for value-wise. I think it's a good thought, but for me, I kind of want Aaron Jones or Saquon Barkley. Sometimes DeAndre Swift falls too, which would be a lot of fun. But CeeDee Lamb closes out the first round, and we're moving into round 2. And yeah, Derrick Henry still on the board. Joe Mixon still on the board. We have to survive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks. There goes Saquon Barkley, one of our guys here. But, man, if we can get hopefully we can get Alvin Kamara off the board before we go, because that's going to push someone back to us. Devontae Adams should be going next. So we're really close. We get one of these top 4 guys for sure, though. So I'm assuming Devontae Adams is going to be one of the next player. There he goes. And we're guaranteed one of these top running backs. So actually we're not guaranteed. We have to survive 3 more picks. So hopefully Kamara Hopefully Kamara gets there. Goes Kyle Pitts. So AJ Brown and Kyle Pitts. This guy's sharp. He's doing something that's very different, hasn't been done probably, and he's trying to just get players with different correlations. It's not easy to get AJ Brown and Kyle Pitts on the same team because they traditionally go in the third round together. So I understand his different thinking there, but he's going to give us Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones. So at his expense, we'll collect the talent, and we're going to start RB here. No receivers really are worth my shot here in the mid-second. You can see the ADPs reflect this too. So we're going to collect Joe Mixon here. This is a fine pick here. I don't know why he's falling. His ADP is 14.5. We're picking him at 19. So I will take the Joe Mixon on the discount. He's a top 10 back. Offensive line's improved. Everybody loves the Bengals this season. So this is ideal start, man. Austin Eckler and Joe Mixon. Whew. We get two guys ranked in the top 14. So feeling pretty good about that. There goes Debo. So Jamar Chase, Debo Samuel start. There goes Alvin Kamara. And then we'll see what happens at the turn. Sometimes some strange things happens, but keep an eye on this guy here. Fresh picks. AJ Brown and Kyle Pitts. Round 2. Above Mark Andrews too. So he's trying to do something super different. The guy here, the other kind of big guy that's done a lot of these drafts, he's got Cooper Kupp and Mike Evans. So we'll see what happens with his his following pick. But interesting first and second round. The Kyle Pitts hype is prepare for liftoff because Pitts is going to be one of those guys that probably creeps into typically Pitts goes as early as 25, but I see him as late as like 32, 33. So he's probably a guy that's going to start to creep into this back end of the second round. So man, throwing $20 on this one, and he wants his AJ Brown, Kyle Pitts. So he's up to something. But this guy here, 2 picks. He's got Christian McCaffrey. He's probably looking at Leonard Fournette with one of these picks. If not, that's interesting. Fournette falling into the third round. I think there's some legit concerns with the offensive line in Tampa Bay. Not only do you have like all their receivers have a question mark, like Mike Evans has a hamstring. I think another hamstring for Russell Gage. Chris Godwin coming back from a season-ending injury. Julio Jones is getting up there in age. And no tight end. Tom Brady, 45 years old. And this offensive line that they've had a lot of injuries. They've lost a couple guys for free agency. They're down to their third string center. Just a ton of injuries there at that offensive line. Let me actually, Bucks, Our Lads. This is a good website for depth charts, ourlads.com. Robert Hainsey, 2021 third-round pick. Shaq Mason, Tristan Wirfs, Donovan Smith, and Luke Godecki. What's going on, Justin? We're having a good time here. We're drafting a $20 entry for the Drafters Million. It's $1 million total prizes, but first place gets $250K. And they gave us Eckler and Joe Mixon to start the draft in a PPR league. So I'm feeling pretty happy about that. And we're up next to pick here. We're guaranteed one of Mike Pittman or Mike Williams. I don't really want to go with Nick Chubb here. DJ Moore's interesting, but in a best ball format, like the dude just doesn't catch touchdowns. I think Mike Williams has legit double-digit touchdown upside, and Michael Pittman, another guy interesting here. But man, they give us the decision here, Pittman or Mike Williams. If I look at my projections real quick, I do have them kind of right next to each other, Michael Williams and Michael Pittman Jr. I'm going to lean into the Chargers here. We'll see if we can get Justin Herbert to fall to us at the 43 spot here. So we're leaning into the Chargers offense. And I like Michael Pittman Jr. there. I think he's the touchdown upside is a little bit interesting. I think if you had to put your money on someone to score more touchdowns, it's going to be Mike Williams. So I don't mind, putting money on him to be our best ball wide receiver 1. But Michael Pittman Jr., he's got an ADP of 28.6, and he's sliding here to the 33rd spot. So it looks like this guy, fresh picks, taking AJ Brown and Kyle Pitts. Interesting here. Waddle or ETN. These guys, the ADP in this is going to be a lot different than your ESPN or your typical stuff. Like ETN's probably going to go with one of these 3 picks here. You got no chance at Cortland Sutton, no chance at ETN, probably no chance at Waddle. A lot of these leagues, these guys get gobbled up here at the end of there goes ETN, round 3 here. So it's interesting, man. With our pick, we're probably looking at guys like Juju starting to slide, Allen Robinson, Marquise Brown. These guys are popular names here. But if we want Justin Herbert, we can gamble on this here. I don't love taking quarterback round 4, but it depends on some of these receivers that are going to be available for us. There goes Waddle. There goes Gabe Davis. Josh Allen at 28. Wow. Cortland Sutton off the board next here. So we're losing some of our top end prospects here. So if I want a wide receiver, it's probably one of these 3 guys. But part of me wonders if we just secure our boy Justin Herbert here and we call it good, and then from there we're gonna see what we can do with the rest of the way for receivers. Jerry Judy off the board at 40th. And then the next two picks here, Ezekiel Elliott and probably one of these receivers. I like these receivers a lot. We're technically getting a value on all of them. Marquise Brown's an interesting guy. I don't have enough shares of Marquise Brown. I could potentially do that. I don't necessarily need to force the stack here. I don't think the stacking is as important in this style of contest. But there goes Marquise Brown. I'm very big into Allen Robinson. Juju Smith-Schuster is a fun pick as well. But let's go ahead and have some fun with this. Let's just get Justin Herbert on the squad. We got Eckler, Herbert, and Mike Williams now. And from here, we'll be looking for potentially a tight end or something in the 5th round, or we'll just start to pivot and take some wide receivers. So we'll see what we can do. At that point, I mean, I would love it if Waller were to slide to us. I think that's a really good one. And then kind of the end game tight end for us is going to probably be, where is he? I can't believe he's this low, but Dallas Goedert, really, really low here at tight end. So we'll see what we can do. And then we start the Lamar Jackson right after we take Herbert. Juju Smith-Schuster, Allen Robinson, best receivers on the board still. There goes Amon-Ra St. Brown, man. He's creeping up in ADP. I've seen him about a week ago. You'd be able to get Amon-Ra in the middle of these 50s, but then he's starting to creep up here to the 4-5 turn, and now you see Amon-Ra St. Brown fully into the 4th round. And yeah, we got the Stack City, LA Stack. And at this point now, we're hoping Waller falls. I think I want an elite tight end in this contest, and I just think, man, with Devontae Adams there, it's going to be pretty good numbers for Darren Waller as he's kind of got a wingman finally. There goes Allen Robinson next, but hopefully, it looks like Breece Hall starting to slide. You see his ADP is 44, so he used to go early 4th round, but now he's creeping back into the 5th round as people are just concerned. Last night with the Jets, they sat 17 of their 22 starters, and Breece Hall was on the field. He was not considered. He didn't get he was considered a non-starter. So yeah, man, I appreciate that. We got a nice fat stack here: Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, and Mike Williams. So from here, I'm really hoping we can get Darren Waller. I want an elite tight end. So he's the pick here. Otherwise, we're going to start hammering receivers. I don't care if it's Brandon Cooks, Rashad Bateman. Those guys would be nice consolation. So hopefully we get one of those guys. But yeah, man, they gave us Joe Mixon at 19, which feels like a mistake. But you notice this guy right here, AJ Brown and Kyle Pitts to start the draft. So very, very interesting. There goes Deontay Johnson. I think this was a really bad idea at the turn. Breece Hall and Cam Akers. There actually was a blurb that I just read about Cam Akers, and it sounds like they don't view him as the bell cow back. Like they're going to use Darrell Henderson too. So a little bit of I'm not super excited about that turn there for Breece Hall and Cam Akers. But anyways, we're up in 1, 2, 3, 4 picks. There goes Patrick Mahomes, and we're guaranteed one of these 3 players: Waller, Cooks, or Bateman. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. We do pick at 54. All of these guys are technically right in line with ADP roughly. A little bit of it. Wow, AJ Dillon 52. Interesting. So they're taking AJ Dillon over guys like Dobbins. Wow, that's probably the earliest I've seen him go. But we are rewarded with Darren Waller, and at this point, we're locked into a stud QB. We're locked into a stud tight end. We got 2 stud running backs. We're gonna start hammering some wide receivers. I would have liked Bateman and Cooks, but I think, yeah, AJ Dillon, man. The hype is here. I think was it today or yesterday that the news blurb came out that he is considered a 1A with Aaron Jones. I mean, again, so I mean, this is a $20 contest, so you have people that are drafting pretty heavily. And this guy here, he's got 79 different entries, so he's been doing this before. But yeah, man, Darren Waller, the baller. I think he's a much better pick than George Kittle at 57. I mean, Kittle, it's a low volume passing offense, and there's going to be games where it's a Debo game or an Ayuk game. I think that could be, a lot of low weeks for George Kittle, a lot of high weeks, but a lot of low weeks as well, where I think Waller's going to be more steady Eddie. And it sounds like they're making Darren Waller more of a red zone focus. Like he's never really had that, elite red zone potential. I don't think he scored a lot of touchdowns in his career either. Maybe one season. Let's look at that. Darren Waller, where did he finish last year? Tight end 17. I mean, he had the 1 year where he caught 9 touchdowns. So maybe I would bet he trends more back towards 9, whether it's 7, 8, 9 touchdowns this year. So I'm feeling good about that. But you see Jalen Hurts here creep into the end of the 5th round. Rashad Bateman falling to 60. That seems like a pretty good value on Bateman. So good for him. But now I guess the trouble starts with us in the 6th round. I mean, I'll take Metcalf, Thomas, or Mooney if these guys fall. It looks like DK and Lazard just went. Adam Thielen's interesting. I really like Elijah Moore. If we can get Elijah Moore, I think I'm on board with that. Because that's kind of the cutoff for me. One of these receivers, there is J.K. Dobbins there, but I'm not sure I want to lean into Dobbins with just guys coming off an injury, but he goes anyway. So we're guaranteed Thielen or Elijah Moore. Let's hope for Elijah. I'm on the A.J. Dillon hype at around 60 plus. ADB could be an old school Larry Johnson. A.J. Dillon's my number 1 drafted player on Drafters. I have an ADP of about 68 on him, and he's like by far my most drafted guy. So I absolutely love A.J. Dillon this year, and I think the days are done. He's now a 5th-round pick in these best balls, but I think we hit a nice one here with Elijah Moore. He's going to be our number 2 receiver, but I'm actually hoping we see more Joe Flacco, maybe for 2-3 games. But I still think Elijah Moore is kind of wide receiver, or he's kind of quarterback proof. He proved that to us last year. Look at these numbers from weeks 9 to 13, 29, 29, 13, 27. He did this all with like Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, and Mike White. So it almost doesn't matter who his damn QB is. Elijah Moore is going to be in for a good season. So we're having fun though. I'm pretty happy with this build. And now, again, we kind of got the onesie positions locked in there. We can I really want to continue to just hammer some of these receivers, whether it's Christian Kirk in the 7th round here. The 8th round's kind of an abyss. I don't love the receivers in the 8th round, but we can take a flyer on MVS. He's a best ball, interesting guy. But I do like the receivers as it turns into like the 9th and 10th round. But maybe we take a flyer on an RB here, because there's some running backs I like here. I like Tony Pollard, Chase Edmonds, Clyde Edwards-Helaire's interesting guys. These guys all have about ADP of 78 to 82. But yeah, man, we're having fun. After I take Elijah, you see Elijah Mitchell, Brandon Ayuk, Drake London. I could have taken Drake London there, but I feel Elijah Moore's kind of locked into that number 1 receiver role, whereas London, Kyle Pitts is still going to be a factor as the lead target. So London, I kind of view him as the number 2. And yeah, I do like we could potentially slam Chris Olave. I like to call him Hot Olave in the 8th round. I think if we can get him at 91, I think that feels pretty damn good. I think there's an outside chance, like Michael Thomas. We haven't seen him in a year and a half, 2 years, and now he popped up the other day with a hamstring thing. I don't know. I think there's a legit universe out there where Chris Olave is the Saints wide receiver 1 this year. But damn it, there goes Christian Kirk. There goes Tony Pollard. We'll see what we can find up here. As far as players I like here, Amari Cooper seems to be falling. I think no matter what, though, even with Jacoby Brissett, he's gonna fire the ball at Cooper. Cooper's the clear number 1 target. I wouldn't mind. Yeah, they did move up a lot for Olave, so I think we're gonna try and get Olave. His ADP is 92, so we could essentially get him here at 91. And then right now, I'm kind of torn. I think Edmonds is probably a guy I want as an RB3. Cooper, though, man, Cooper is falling pretty hard. What do you guys think? Should we take Chase Edmonds here? Kadarius Toney's interesting. Hunter Renfrow, we could lean into the Waller and Hunter Renfrow here, but I'm thinking as far as running backs go, to me, Edmonds is kind of the last guy that I feel strongly about, and especially in a PPR best ball league. I think he is probably the pick for me. And then from there, we secured 3 good running backs. I might be able to just continue to hammer receivers. So I'm going to take Chase Edmonds here. And the narrative for Chase Edmonds is he's like the clear running back 1 there. And the system there from Mike McDaniel, they're going to value him quite a bit. He was the first free agent to sign, and they gave him a good contract right away. So I like that. I do like Renfrow and Cooper, but to me, Renfro's not exactly a best ball receiver for me, just because I'm nervous his touchdowns are going to drop. He's still going to catch a lot of balls, but now that he's kind of the number 3 target, I view him more as a redraft player where I just want my 10, 12 points every week. So I get the Renfrow, but I think for best ball, I want guys that can just dominate and get upwards of 20 points every other week. So, but yeah, and the thing with Edmonds is this allows me to now I don't have to force it at running back. We have three pretty damn good ones: Eckler, Mixon, and Edmonds. Edmonds is probably going to rack up a couple of flex starts for us throughout this. Again, we start 3 wide receivers, so at this point now, like we're going to go in a heavy wide receiver run. So, but I'm starting to come around. Like Amari Cooper in the 7th round, and I'm not sure how many receivers went off the board before him. Let me look and see what his value is. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 receivers in the first, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. He's about wide receiver 40, which feels too low because when Watson returns, he's probably going to be a top 25, top 30 receiver. But anyways, after we take Chase Edmonds, you see Amari Cooper, Kadarius Toney, Trey Lance, Hunter Renfrow. There goes TJ Hawkinson, a little bit high for Dak Prescott, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Singletary. There's Russell Wilson. So it looks like everyone's this team needs a quarterback, and this other Wounded Geese team needs a QB. But we're on deck here, and it looks like we are going to win the Chris Olave sweepstakes. So we're feeling good about him. I know he's listed as our number 3, but he's going to be a part. Like again, we're going to be taking receivers probably the next 3 or 4 picks. He's going to be a guy that's just part of our committee, and I feel really strongly about Chris Olave. He's going to be on the field a ton, and this Alvin Kamara thing is strange. Like we don't really know what's going to happen. The hearing doesn't happen until the end of September. So I mean, there's potential where the Saints, if they lose Kamara, they're going to just have to throw the ball 40 times a game. Because they don't really have a good backup running back. So, but now we are kind of well balanced and built here. As far as receivers on the next turnaround here, I like Rondale Moore, Chase Claypool. I'm coming around to Chase Claypool because he's been getting a lot of run in the slot. I think the other game he had like 13 of his 16 snaps were in the slot, and that's a mission. Like any linebacker, good luck. And if you're going to put a small cornerback on Chase Claypool, like good luck. That could be a lot of fun there. So these are the 2 guys that I think I'm valuing the most. I don't really see a value on reaching at tight end here. We'll kind of circle the wagons on tight end. Maybe we come back and get Gerald Everett to pair with our Herbert. We for sure want to go and get Josh Palmer on this team since we're heavy Chargers. So that might be a move for us, maybe at the 114, 127 range. But we're feeling good. Dameon Pierce, 95th overall. So like he is – if you want Dameon Pierce, he's going to cost a top 100 pick. Very, very interesting. Sky Moore, Tyler Boyd, next receivers off the board. So 1, 2, 3, 4 picks to go before we go. I got Claypool here. A lot of these running backs, man, I don't trust them. I like Damian Harris, but I mean, there's a reason people are taking Ramondre Stevenson at 88. Like Harris could just be a waste of a pick. So to me, again, we're locked in with 3 pretty good running backs. Let's go ahead and continue to slam those wide receivers. What do you guys think about Robert Woods? So you got the 2 Tennessee Titans receivers here. I'm not really interested in Treylon Burks. We're seeing some really bad stuff here. Robert Woods goes ahead of Treylon. Looks like we're guaranteed maybe Claypool or Rondale Moore here. So I'm feeling good about Claypool. We'll see what happens. But I think the move is probably to take Rondale Moore. It's a better passing offense. He's going to be kind of the number 2, number 3 hybrid. And I think there's room for George Pickens, 100. Interesting. What do you guys think? Do we take Claypool or Rondale Moore here? And we're going to be eyeing up some of these guys later here. Phillips over Burks. I've been drafting a lot of Kyle Phillips, round 20. He's a PPR guy. He reminds me of Adam Humphries, if you guys remember, who Ryan Tannehill, I think he's had success with him before. But for me, this is a tough decision, Claypool or Rondale Moore. I like the Cardinals offense better, and I just think year 2 Rondale Moore, you want to get one of those guys here. So I want to lean into Rondale Moore. They're going to find ways to get him the ball. And he can run the ball. He can catch the ball. They're going to scheme him. And I just think Cardinals offense versus the Steelers offense, let's trust that a little bit more. But yeah, I'm with you. On Kyle Phillips. He could be like, he goes so cheap, but I want to highlight some other receivers I like here. We should probably go after Nico Collins. We should go after KJ Osborne. I'm interested in Romeo Dobbs, but like the fact that, I mean, we can get Isaiah McKenzie later. You can get Christian Watson later. We can get even Alec Pierce. I like the value on these Jags receivers too, Marvin Jones and Zay Jones. Tons of wide receivers. Like we could get Sammy Watkins. I'd rather have Sammy Watkins than Romeo Dobbs, I think, at this point. But we'll find a bunch of receivers when it comes to it. There goes Zach Ertz after I take Rondale Moore. Got a little running back run here of Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt, Antonio Gibson, and Brian Robinson. Wow. DJ. Who's the DJ there? DJ. Oh, we want the more. You want the Moore team? I wonder if there's any more Moores we can get. Moore. I think we're out on Moore. Chris Moore, David Moore. Yeah, we need more Moores. I'm not sure I like Sky Moore at ADP. I'm just concerned that he's firmly behind Juju and MVS. So at best, he's the number 3 receiver, which means at best he's like the number 4 target. So sure, he could pop off for a few games if there's injuries. Like I get it, but around 8 pick just seems a little tough for me. But look at this running back run we got going on here. Sanders, Hunt, Gibson. That's the highest I've seen Brian Robinson go. Damian Harris, that's probably the latest I've seen Damian Harris go. So those two guys are pretty polar opposites right now. Burks, Hardman, James Cook. Guys, we might be able to get Chase Claypool here. What do you guys think? Do we like Chase Claypool in the slot? I mean, to take George Pickens at 100, that seems a little silly to me. But I mean, Chase Claypool, even like if you look at what he did last year, how many games did he pop off last year? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He had 8 games over double digits last year. So I don't. I stopped taking Sky. That's a good point there. He looks much more attractive when you get him with Mahomes. So I like that. But this guy got Joe Burrow. This team is probably not having fun this year. I don't really like that team. Cordero Patterson, next running back off the board. If we get we got Chase Claypool here. His ADP is 103, and we got him at 115. So yeah, man, this one I think we played that board correctly because I know Rondale Moore would have went in one of these picks, but for some reason people don't want Chase Claypool. And he actually I don't know if you guys watched that second preseason game, but he looked really good. Like he looked like I don't know. I think he's going to be a big mismatch because again, put him in the slot. I don't think there's any linebacker in the league that can stick with him. And then you're going to put a small cornerback on him. I don't know. Good luck. And I kind of wanted to see Kenny Pickett sooner than later, but we'll see. Aaron Rodgers, Naheem Hines, the next running back off the board. I think we're kind of like locked into, well, we got 5 receivers now. We got Big Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, Chris Olave, Rondale Moore, and Chase Claypool. Like that's feeling pretty good. We're going to need 3 of those guys every week. I still want maybe 3 or 4 more, but I think we're kind of locked into getting Josh Palmer as our next target. If I miss on Palmer, I don't know what we'll do. Maybe we pivot and look at running back, but there's a lot of guys I like in this range here, around 10 to 12. I think people are sleeping massively on DJ Chark. He's going to be the number 2 receiver there all year. They just put Jameson Williams on the whatever list for half the year. So he's not coming back anytime soon. It might be mid-November by the time we see him, 100%. So DJ Chark, highly interested. And then the rookie that kind of everyone forgets about is Jahan Dotson. So I love collecting him because he's going to be on the field a lot. There goes Garrett Wilson, Russell Gage. Derek Carr is still on the field. I don't know if you guys like potentially double dipping at QB. I prefer to wait on QB. The fact that we can get, Trevor Lawrence, a lot of these, we can get Jameson Winston pretty late here too. I've been kind of coming around to Jared Goff because have you guys looked at the Lions schedule to end the season? Oh my goodness. This Lions schedule is pretty hot. And I just think they could be a team that gets really, really attractive come. So they have a tough game here. I guess Green Bay, Buffalo. But after they play Buffalo, they're going to go Jacksonville, Minnesota, the Jets, the Panthers, and the Bears. Like that stretch of defenses here does not scare me. These are probably all bottom 10 defenses. Maybe Carolina's decent, but I think that run there, especially Week 17 against the Bears in Detroit, that could be a really fruitful game. So I've been coming around to Jared Goff as my QB2, QB3. But anyways, Uh, Jalen Tolbert. I haven't been drafting a lot of Jalen Tolbert because in the other format that I was drafting a lot in, I was getting Tolbert. I have like an average ADP on Tolbert of about like 151. So I haven't been pulling him a lot in the 11th round, which kind of seems to where he's settled in. But we're almost up to pick. We want Josh Palmer, baby. There goes Romeo Dobbs. And guys, like I'm a Packer fan. Like I live in Milwaukee. I was born in Green Bay. I love the Packers, but I think Romeo Dobbs in the 11th is a mistake. The fact that you can get Christian Watson, Sammy Watkins later, that seems to be a mistake. But we're going to collect the big man, Josh Palmer here. He looked fantastic in preseason. I know he's got a little concussion thing going on here, but Palmer, man, locked into the Chargers. I'm feeling pretty good about this. And then I would say on the comeback, like we got 6 pretty damn good receivers. I think if we can slam DJ Chark or Jahan Dotson on this lineup, I think that's looking pretty good. And then there's kind of like if you guys have done a lot of drafters, there's kind of a drop off. I think after Isaiah McKenzie, like it falls off because all these guys have questions. I mean, I'm interested in Alec Pierce or Marvin Jones Jr. as my worst receiver, but after this, it gets kind of stinky. I do like Zay Jones as well, but I kind of want to make sure I get about 6 or 8 receivers here. So if we can get 2 more of these guys we have started, I think I'm feeling pretty good. We missed on Jahan Dotson, which is fine. We pick at 139. There goes Jarvis Landry. Landry would have been nice because we could have stacked him with Olave and potentially Winston at some point. But it looks like nobody wants Jacoby Myers, which I understand in a best ball format. Myers is not the ideal guy. He's more of like a Tyler Boyd, just a solid wide receiver 3 in your home redraft league. But at that price, he's looking pretty good. I was taking Tyquan. Tyquan's interesting. I hope he can get the field. It just makes me nervous because like anytime the Patriots draft a receiver, I kind of want to run the other way, right? But it looks like he's been heavily involved in their preseason and training camp and stuff. So I'm interested there in Tyquan Thornton. But anyways, we missed on DJ Chark. We missed on Julio Jones. There goes Justin Fields. And at this point, it's like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do we reach on Nico Collins or KJ Osborne here? The passing volume, like I was reading stuff today about KJ Osborne, and they think he could put up 900 to 1,000 yards, which you not only have that built in with KJ Osborne, but what happens if Thielen misses time? KJ Osborne could be a really nice player here. I mean, Albert O, I'm interested there, but again, I kind of like the tight ends later. Spiller to Gainwell's interesting. I don't mind Gainwell here. There goes Freiermuth. But I think there goes KJ Osborne. So we're looking at Nico Collins or Trevor Lawrence. Because we got Herbert, I'm gonna lock in Nico. I think Nico's locked into a wide receiver 2 role with that team. He's the clear guy. He's looked pretty good in preseason too. So all of a sudden we turn a weakness into a strength. Our receiving core is Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, Olave, Rondale Moore, Claypool, Palmer, and Nico Collins. So at this point, I think I'm feeling pretty good about that receiving group. We can get the Kyle Phillips or a late round flyer to get our number 8 receiver. And at this point, we probably want to start checking some backup tight ends like Irv Smith. If he were to fall, I'm interested. It sounds like he was given the okay to be ready for week 1 with his thumb. Njoku interests me. I would have liked Gainwell there, but the things that I read today it's interesting. I love Kenneth Gainwell, but I don't like that he was running behind Boston Scott in the preseason game the other day. So I've kind of cooled on Gainwell here in the 12th round, and I've been snagging more Boston Scott because he's a 20th round pick, like he's free. But I do love Kenneth Gainwell, but I think there's a reason that he's starting to fall. His ADP is 133, and it's 142 right now. So Gainwell starting to kind of slow down a little bit. But I don't know if we can get Isaiah McKenzie. I think there he goes, Isaiah McKenzie. But man, we're sitting pretty good here. At this point, we want a backup QB, backup tight end. Let's look at the running backs because I mean Gainwell is there. We can land on Gainwell if he somehow slides through. I don't necessarily think Isaiah Spiller is the backup to Eckler. He's going to be missing time already, so that's a concern. But they seem to like Josh Kelly this preseason, so he's a guy to monitor. James Robinson, I don't mind putting him on the bench. I think Jamal Williams is a fine guy to throw on the bench as well. I don't know how much I love stacking the Bengals running backs here, but we could potentially get Chris Evans and Samaje Perine to just round it out. But I'll tell you what, I do like pairing Chase Edmonds with Raheem Mostert. And then I think one of my favorite little mini stacks lately has been getting Zamir White. And then late, we could go after Amir Abdullah. We can get two of the Raiders running backs. I do like Zach Moss there too. Hassan Haskins looked good the other night too. So there's some fun running backs here late. I think people are sleeping on TDP here too. He's a guy that looked good in preseason the other day. Yeah, if Trevor falls there, like I'll take the discount because we're at pick 150 and his ADP is 138. So that's, I mean, if we get Trevor and Herbert, we don't need a third QB. So that might be the move. My only regret is we don't have any other Jags yet, but we can easily get a Marvin or a Zay Jones. So I kind of like Trevor Lawrence if he falls. Mostert and Edmonds is gonna be a nice duo. No Kelly and Spiller. We could get Kelly and Spiller. I don't know if I like it. I mean, if my team's gonna win, it's gonna be because of Eckler, not because of Kelly and Spiller, which I guess is another good reason to maybe not go after Joe Mixon's backups. You want to kind of spread your game around, but I don't know. We'll see what we can find here. Thoughts on Elijah Mitchell? Conflicted. So yeah, that hamstring thing is very concerning. He's a guy that got a lot of carries last year. They banged him up pretty good, and I think the number one thing I worry about with him is he's probably not going to play a full season. I think you're going to be probably in that 12 to 13, 14 game range with him. So that does worry me. Like, I guess for where he's being drafted, let me look here. It's probably going to flip me off. And he goes 68th. So, I mean, I'm going to take a flyer on Ayuk or Drake London. I mean, I feel okay with Tony Pollard there, but boy, oh boy, we get rewarded. We get rewarded with, I'm taking Trevor Lawrence here, guys. We're going to lock in that QB value. We got Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. And man, I think people are sleeping on this Jags offense because Lawrence is probably going to throw for 4,000 plus yards. He's going to probably flirt with like 25 touchdowns. And then I think the secret that everyone kind of forgets about him is he's a pretty damn good running quarterback. He's going to probably run for almost 300, 400 yards. And yeah, so I like getting Jefferson and Osborne. That's a good one for sure. And I don't know if I necessarily like consider it handcuffing. To me, like I guess the Osborne would be to handcuff. If I draft Thielen, then I would draft Osborne. That's kind of the handcuff there. I trust Osborne, I think, to stay healthy. And yeah, we're gonna go after Zay Jones, maybe a little Marvin Jones. We'll see what happens. But I feel strongly about the QBs. Now I'm going to uncheck some of the QBs, get them off the list here. Because if we have to draft like Mariota or Ritter or something at the end, we could totally do that. For tight ends, though, we can still get Gerald Everett, the Chargers starting tight end. So we can go heavy Chargers, basically everybody but Keenan Allen. I do like Njoku. I'm kind of interested in Robert Tonyan. I mean, if he plays, he's going to be a pretty valuable piece for that offense. We can get Evan Ingram paired with Trevor Lawrence. I like Herbert. I think people are forgetting about Austin Hooper. He's arguably their second best receiving weapon. I mean, they have the ghost of Robert Woods coming back from an ACL. Nick Westbrook-Akina was listed as kind of the second starting wide receiver. Austin Hooper, man, he could be a guy here that I think blows his ADP out of the water because he's not too long removed from being a top tight end option. What do you guys think about Christian Watson at 158 overall ADP? We're at 163. I don't know if I love it. I would have loved to get an Irv Smith or something like that. It looks like we missed on Everett. But we're kind of in line for David Njoku right now. Yeah, it does. I guess though the only way that it makes sense to get both is if you have Kirk Cousins and you just kind of lean into the stack. But it sounds like their three wide receiver set usage is going to go up significantly. So I mean, I feel pretty strongly about KJ Osborne being a guy that like he's going to be on your bench in fantasy, but you might want to end up flexing him at certain points. But for me, I'm going to go ahead. I have really good like Hunter Henry's fine, Noah Fant's fine, but I think I want to get David Njoku here. There's Marvin, the running backs. I'm going to lock in Raheem Mostert. We'll see what tight end falls to us because we needed some more running backs. We got Eckler, Mixon, Edmonds, and now Mostert. So we're getting hopefully all the touchdowns there from the Miami backfield. And there's still a lot of tight ends I like on the board. We have Waller there, so we don't need to force it. Like I'm fine with like almost any of these guys as my tight end too. And if we go later, like Mo Ali Cox is free. Jonnu Smith, Isaiah Likely, free. Tyler Conklin is free. So there's a lot of good tight ends lately or later. But anyways, we're moving into the 14th round. Quarterbacks Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, running backs Eckler, Mixon, Edmonds, and Mostert. The wide receiver group built out pretty quickly. Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, Chris Olave, Rondale Moore, Chase Claypool, Josh Palmer, Nico Collins, and our boy Darren Waller there to hold down the fort at the tight end spot. So it looks like we missed out on Zamir White. I was thinking about him maybe with the next pick, but it looks like you got to get him in the 14th round if you want to do so. And I still like Tyrion Davis-Price. Again, we mentioned being nervous about Elijah Mitchell for a full season. Trey Sermon looked bad in his 2 preseason games. I watched him in the game 1 against the Packers, but game 2, I watched the tape, and he just was not good. He was getting tackled backwards every single play, not making decisive cuts. And then Tyrion Davis-Price comes in, and he looked like the much better back. So I think there's potential for Tyrion Davis-Price to be the number 2, him or Jeff Wilson. And I think there's a legit chance Trey Sermon gets moved, gets cut. Over under unlikely 18th round this draft. I'm going to put him in the 18th round. I would bet 18th round because let's see. His ADP right now is 221, which puts him in the 19th. So I think people are going to be around early on him. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's like in the beginning of the 18th. You know what I mean? There goes Njoku, Hunter Henry, and we can still get some good tight ends here. So I like the value here for us. At the running back spot, I wouldn't mind J.D. McKissic. I just he's like 30-some years old. I don't love it. We can find some guys later on the list. Again, I mentioned I'm kind of a fan of Jeff Wilson. I wouldn't mind snagging him. The fact that TDP is still on the board, 169 ADP, intrigues me. But yeah, Amir Abdullah, Zach Moss, Hassan Haskins. We can maybe, if we want to maybe get Josh Kelly, we'll think about it kind of thing. Damn it, there goes Evan Ingram. Christian Watson still on the board, guys. This is that one's looking like a value here, 158.2. We could technically be done at receiver, but the fact that Marvin Jones and Zay Jones still on the board, I kind of like that. Our bye with Waller is week 6, so Tunyon, I think Hayden Hurst could be a nice tight end this year. Hayden Hurst is actually not too far removed from a really, really good season. Not a great season, but a solid one for fantasy. What year was that? I think it was 2020 before Kyle Pitts emerged. Hayden Hurst was tight end 9, so he's got top 10 in him. We missed on Marvin and Zay and Jared Goff. So I'm going to collect Hayden Hurst here because I want to make sure I get a decent tight end number 2. And I just think that Bengals offense, man, it's going to be hard to cover with Chase and Higgins, and you got to worry about Mixon. So Hayden Hurst, I think it's a big upgrade up from CJ Uzama. And last year, Uzama was tight end 19. Yeah, tight end 19. So we lock in a decent number 2 tight end there. So we'll see what we can get. And at this point now, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks to make. I would love to snag some more RBs. Tyrion Davis-Price still the prize here. McKinnon's interesting. McKissic is interesting. These guys are, your pass catching backs. Chris Evans interesting. Deonta Foreman interesting. If McCaffrey, anything were to happen to him. There's Chuba Hubbard there too, but I think Amir Abdullah is a priority for me coming up soon. But we're feeling pretty good about this. There goes Christian Watson. So you get a 20-round or a 20-pick premium, I guess, a 20-pick discount on Christian Watson, who had a 158 ADP. So that's feeling basically almost 2 rounds for Christian Watson there. Feels pretty good. And yeah, let's as far as endgame tight ends, if we can get Likely, I'll go after him. But I think people are sleeping on Tyler Conklin. He's been one of my most drafted tight ends of late. He's been playing pretty well. And he's been kind of the clear-cut number 1 in camp. Like, it's not even a competition. Like, Conklin is the tight end 1. So I wouldn't mind getting him as a worst-case scenario. And, yeah, I saw Kyron's back. He could be a guy that kind of pops off out of nowhere. Because we know Henderson gets hurt every now and then. And with Cam Akers coming back from an Achilles, like, what if he just doesn't look like himself? The guy, Kyron Williams here, might actually have a lot of juice. So let me see if I can find him. Is he being drafted yet on here? Let me type him in. Kyron Williams. I wouldn't mind maybe a round 20 flyer on Kyron. I think that makes sense because you want to get a piece of that Rams offense. And I'll tell you what, like I'm kind of uninspired by Akers and Henderson right now. As far as running backs go, um, I want to make sure I get Amir Abdullah, but we don't need to reach on him. As far as receivers go, again, we missed on Zay and Marvin. I like Bellinger too. I like Bellinger, but it looks like we missed out on Zay Jones here. 171, Marvin 173, so no Jag stacks for us. And yeah, I've taken a handful of Bellinger shares. He's been getting a ton of reps with the one. Like he is like he's the number one. So he is free. So I think with our 20th round pick, we can look at some of these guys here for sure. In terms of receivers, Sammy Watkins, interesting here. Do we go running back here? Do you guys like Jerick McKinnon? I don't know if I love McKinnon in terms of wide receivers. Cedric Wilson could be kind of fun. We'll put a star on him. Running back, I just really, really want Amir Abdullah. I don't want to miss out on him because if he's the James White role, that's going to be pretty valuable. The fact that they just let Kendrick or Kenyon Drake go for that amount of money is clear that they want to use Amir Abdullah. So I'm willing to be ahead of the game there on Amir Abdullah round 16. I mean, at this point, there goes Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely round 16. So if you took the over, congrats. Or I guess you took the under 18. Congrats. Cedric was the first receiver they added. Yeah, I like they were aggressive in getting in Cedric Wilson, and anything happens to Tyreek or Jalen Waddle, you're looking at something pretty good there. So I'm on board with Cedric Wilson as kind of our 8th receiver. Anything later than that we can talk about, but there's Kyle Phillips. We mentioned him. They've been talking up Equanimeous St. Brown in Bears camp. It sounds like it's Equanimeous St. Brown in the lead for the number 2 receiver role, which I don't know if I love. And then old reliable here, Braxton Berrios is the starting slot receiver for the Jets, which is interesting. There goes Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Jerick McKinnon, Darrell Williams, Zach Wilson. And David Bell's interesting too. He could be their starting slot receiver. In terms of running back, though, I'm feeling okay with that. Like we have Zach Moss, Jeff Wilson, or Boston Scott or Kyron Williams in our back pocket. So I think the move would be to go with Cedric Wilson. I kind of want to attach myself more to the Dolphins offense. I think that's one you kind of want to be higher on. Nice in the 18th round. This is probably the last week to get those discounts on him because I would imagine he plays again in the 3rd preseason game. And if he does it again, like next week, it's good luck. Who's Turpin? Who's Turpin? I don't know who Turpin is. There goes Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, Wilson. So the run of QBs is pretty much gone here. Davis Mills, Carson Wentz. I don't need to force the issue here. I think we're better off continuing to take some of these wide receivers. I do like Watkins. I like David Bell. I think Cedric Wilson's going to be on the field a lot, though. They have as mentioned, they paid Cedric Wilson good money to be there. I think it was a 2 or 3 year deal. 3-year, $22.8 million. So we'll follow the money there. That feels pretty good, man. Cedric Wilson is our number 8. And at that point, we don't necessarily need to. Oh yeah, he was a gem. Wasn't he the MVP of the USFL or something like that? I thought I saw him there. And yeah, the 2 tight end sets for the Ravens, it just makes sense. I mean, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet, not really super exciting number 3, number 4 targets. So I think you're gonna see Likely on the field sooner than later. And yeah, he was a fun pick. He also makes me a little bit more excited to, like, if you play in a redraft league with, special teams defense, Dallas, man, that might be, yeah, that's what it was. Yep. But anyways, we are down to our final 3 picks. Our roster is pretty well balanced. I think at this point, I don't know what I value more. I think people are really sleeping on Mo Cox, though. He's been one of my favorite tight ends to target in the 18th to 19th round. Like, they have some young tight ends there that look pretty good, but the things that I've read, Mo Cox are just he's the de facto tight end right now. And I don't know if I trust Agnew. I'd be open to Treadwell, but I mean, at that point, we're looking at like the 5th or 6th target for the Jags. So I think I'd rather lean towards some guys that could be number 3s or number 4s somewhere. Curious if Kenyon Drake signs anywhere. I think he's a guy that probably needs to get a spot somewhere soon. Chris Evans off the board here. I kind of want to secure Zach Moss because I have this thing like if Zach Moss for Zach Moss to hit, if anything happens to Singletary, I don't think they're going to give James Cook all of the workload. They're going to give Zach Moss a lot of the first and second down work. So he's a guy again. You want to attach yourself to some good offenses. Buffalo's going to be living in the red zone, so I'm gonna secure Zach Moss here. And now we're just down to like our final receiver spot and the final tight end spot, and we'll call it good. And yeah, especially with LaVisca in there, man. Like I don't know if I want to be buying. Maybe around 20, I can consider it, but I think I'd rather have Randall Cobb attaching to Aaron Rodgers as his starting slot receiver. Um, and yeah, Moss is tough, but he played well at the beginning of the year, and then he got hurt, and then he lost the job to Singletary and just couldn't get back on the field. But he delivered 5 double-digit games to start the year last year, so I think he's a good player. He just needs to settle into a role and stay healthy. But at this point, again, we need an injury for something to happen there. But I'm coming around to Randall Cobb. I think, to be honest, I think it's Kyle Phillips. He's the guy that probably looks the most appealing because he's going to be the starting slot receiver there in Tennessee. Some deeper guys here. I think people are sleeping on guys like Josh Reynolds, who's going to be the number 3 receiver in Detroit, while Jameson Williams is away. Equanimeous St. Brown sounds like the number 2 receiver for, I don't really want to touch the Bears, but he's the number 2 receiver potentially for Chicago. Jawan Jennings, maybe the number 3. The other guy I like here too is Noah Brown. The fact that he was a healthy scratch in preseason game 2, which to me means he might be ahead of Jalen Tolbert as the starting number 2 receiver in this offense. He's been with Dak the last couple seasons. I think round 20, potentially getting a guy that could be the number 2 receivers. Yes, Phillips won. Danny Gray's another guy that I find intriguing. He is he already higher on the list? Yeah, he's up here next to Kyle Phillips. So these guys are both very, very interesting young wide receivers. As far as tight ends go, again, Daniel Bellinger, Tyler Conklin. We'll roll the dice there as our tight end 3 again. We got Waller and Hurst, so those guys are pretty reliable. I think worst case scenario, we can land. Dulcich is interesting, but I'm hoping we can get Bellinger or Conklin here as one of our finals. So after we take Zach Moss, you see Marlon Mack, AJ Green. There's Mo Cox. Tutu Atwell has got a shot as the number 3 receiver while Van Jefferson gets back. There goes D'Ernest Johnson, Ronald Jones, Devin Duvernay. Randall Cobb intrigues me. I don't know if I want to reach on it. But I think we're going to gamble because we like a lot of the receivers, the round 20 receivers. I think I want to secure Tyler Conklin because Bellinger just went. Logan Thomas is interesting, but he's just getting beat up. I'm going to secure Tyler Conklin, I think, for the Jets. Antonio Brown. No, we're going to stay away from Antonio Brown. The other, like the lone starting tight end that no one talks about is Tommy Tremble. I mean, the fact that the Panthers traded away Dan Arnold last year because they wanted to get him more they want to get Tremble on the field more. So I think for an end game target, potentially Tommy Tremble could be nice. Donald Parham too is an interesting guy, but he's got this hamstring thing and just kind of feels untrustworthy. But I'm going to take Tyler Conklin here to be our final tight end 3. And then at this point, we're going to finish it off with a walk-off wide receiver round 20 because there's a lot of them. I don't want to take Antonio, man. Not interested. The dude, he comes back for 2 games and then decides he wants to join the circus. I don't know. I think there's legit upside in some of these guys here. Like Randall Cobb, Tyquan Thornton, Velus, Quez Watkins could be a nice pick. Danny Gray, Kyle Phillips. Carolina, Tommy Tremble, man. I think he's a good tight end. He's probably going to turn some heads and make some plays this year. There was one. I don't know what you guys think, but the Falcons cut Auden Tate today, which leaves Bryan Edwards to be their number 2, number 3. Interesting. I know it's not a fruitful situation, but the fact that they released Auden Tate leaves a little bit of a upside there for Bryan Edwards. I don't really know if I want to go with Jalen Guyton as the number 4 receiver for the Chargers, but again, I'm interested in Noah Brown, Braxton Berrios. The Thornton injury. How long? What does it say here? 8 weeks. A collarbone. Yeah. To me, it's either Phillips or Noah Brown for me. I don't know. What do you guys think? The thing about Noah Brown that I like is he's got a nice track record with Dak. Like he's done well before. He did go 6 for 53 1 year last year, one game last year. I think he's been there for a couple seasons if I remember correctly. He's shown up at times. Yeah, he's actually been there for 4 years. So he's a guy that knows the system. Hasn't really popped off too much here, but um, he likes Danny Gray. Danny Gray's been what? He's gotten 2 touchdowns this preseason. I don't know if I have a lot of shares of Danny Gray, but it looks like he just went at 232. So to me, we're gonna collect Kyle Phillips here, the starting slot receiver for Tennessee, while they wait for Traylon Burks to emerge. Randall Cobb round 20 though, that's a crime. He's gonna catch 5, 6 touchdowns, so like that could be the pick. But we'll end up with Kyle Phillips here and call it a day. So that is the squad. To recap, 2 QBs. We got Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, both pretty good values there. Starting running back group is Eckler and Joe Mixon. On the bench, we have Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert, Amir Abdullah, Zach Moss. So a little bit light on running back depth, but if Eckler and Mixon stay healthy, we're in good shape. The wide receiver room is deep. Mike Williams, Elijah Moore, Chris Olave, Rondale Moore, Chase Claypool, Josh Palmer, Nico Collins, Cedric Wilson, Kyle Phillips. I really like this group here. Darren Waller, Hayden Hurst, and Tyler Conklin to round it out. So this was a really fun draft. This was my third one doing the Drafters Million. So hopefully we threw a dagger there to maybe win the 250K. So this was a lot of fun. And yeah, I like the Velus Jones chatter, but man, the Bears is such a hard team to trust, and we'll see if they can get him schemed. But this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Again, thank you for your time, and have a good one. Peace.